Today we have a very special segment. We're going to jump right in to a training that I feel is very, very significant for today's market. Out there in the market, buyers have more choices than they did even a year ago, 2 years ago, or longer. So now a lot of buyers are wanting to use the due diligence period and the option period and the inspection as a second negotiation. And us as listing agents, or if you guys are out there aspiring to carry more listings, we should really try to get rid of that second negotiation. Honestly, that's going to be a huge assist to the seller because they'll be able to focus on getting what they need done right off the bat, and they won't have to worry. They won't have to fret over what that inspection report's going to say and what those buyers are going to come back with. So today we're going to talk about an awesome concept. I was introduced to this concept by a gentleman named the WGR. Y'all might know him on Instagram. He's an awesome guy, great coach, great real estate coach. So I want to share some of the information about how to get rid of that second negotiation. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Let's see here. I'm going to share. All right. All right, cool. So we're going to talk about the leverage blueprint, how to eradicate the second negotiation. So let's jump into it. So here's the hidden threat of every transaction. You get in there, you finally get the house under contract. Here comes the buyer. They get it under contract. Everyone's happy with the price. Buyer and seller are in agreement. And then here we go. We have the inspection period, and it turns into a second negotiation. So, as an agent, we should never let the inspection period become a second negotiation. We want to try to protect the sellers, get as much. Obviously, the objective for a listing agent is to get top dollar in as little amount of time as we can. So, we don't want a buyer to walk over sellers anymore. So, how can we get rid of that second negotiation? Here's some timeline issues that happen. This is the normal timeline. You list the home, you get the offer accepted, everyone's super excited, but here we go. Now it's the time. I used to have a coach of mine, he used to say, right after an offer is expected, give the buyers some Advil and maybe some little bottles of tequila because the requests are going to be coming in. Here's a way that we can get rid of that and get ahead of that. Because normally you get that offer accepted, you wait for the inspection, you brace for the impact of that repair list, and then you start negotiating all over again. Let's get rid of that second negotiation and help our sellers even more. What if you could eliminate that second negotiation? What if the inspection was already handled before we even hit the market? Another one of my great coaches always used to say, if you can handle those objections up front, it's going to make everything else a lot smoother. So what if we could get rid of that second negotiation, handle the inspection, and get that control back in the hands of the sellers? So phase one, the pre-market fortification. Here's how you can get everything ready, prepare, handle those objections. Order all the major inspections before the listing. This gets ahead of that inspection period. We don't know. The sellers don't know. You never know the little things that are happening throughout a home. It's always up in the air. Sometimes things are out of the seller's control. Sometimes it's normal wear and tear. Sometimes it's something they had no idea. So if you order those inspections before the listing, complete the major repairs up front, and disclose everything, what you saw, what you learned, what the inspector saw, and what the sellers actually fixed. Prepare those disclosures before even hitting the market. Now the buyers know exactly what they're walking into. You neutralize the surprises before the market even sees the home, and now that gets rid of that buyer leverage. Those informational barriers that you see You get through those barriers and it gives clarity. And now you can focus on getting the home sold for the price that the seller really wants to sell it for. So now this is the section for the pro listing agents out there. This is the ironclad counter. Once you receive an offer, here's how you respond. The inspection's already been taken care of. Hopefully, the seller has already taken care of the major items. Hopefully, they've taken care of all the items. So now you treat that earnest money like a due diligence deposit. The seller is protected if the buyer cancels. And once the buyer knows that they're in an agreement with a non-refundable earnest money deposit, they're going to be super serious about getting that deal closed, which is what you want as a listing agent for your seller. So this is for the pros out there. If you put this into play, this is really going to look like a top-notch professional elite move as a listing agent. Your seller's going to love you for it. And if you can get this through, it's going to make the rest of the process super, super easy. So we're switching from reactive to proactive. The average agent is reactive. You get the offer accepted, there's surprises, the earnest money is refundable and it's at risk. The seller could always lose that earnest money. And now the seller is bracing for those demands. Well, what is the top agent? The top agent is proactive. Take care of that inspection before the listing. Now you have everything taken care of, full disclosure. You treat that earnest money like a due diligence period, make it non-refundable, and that gives the seller total immunity. Puts the control back in the listing agent and in the seller's hands, which is what a seller is always looking for. So you eliminate that leverage before it appears. Check out this graph. I love it. The old way, here we go. You're moving along. The old way comes, the inspection comes, and boom, there goes the leverage. The shift in power happens. When you do it the new way, everything stays on an even keel. The seller keeps the leverage, and everything is taken care of beforehand to give the seller that edge in the negotiation. Here's the architecture of the control. Upfront disclosure plus redefined earnest money equals absolute control. Top agents do not negotiate twice. Control the terms upfront. And let me tell you what, a seller client is going to be super impressed with this approach. Now, of course, everything is negotiable. This is just a framework. This is just shifting the mindset of, hey, let's handle these objections and let's get rid of this second negotiation. Who out there has been a buyer's agent? When we get that inspection done and we start requesting crazy repair amendments, big time concessions, who's been there? I've been there. And sometimes it's warranted. If the buyer is serious and they want these items taken care of or they want these concessions, our job is to represent what they're looking for. Well, sometimes these inspection reports are 30, 40, 50 pages long, and sometimes these items are super important to our clients. So we have to represent their interest. So we request whatever they're looking for. And sometimes we're asking for big time repair amendments or some hefty concessions. So here's how you can change the dynamic. Here's how you can get that control back in the hands of the seller, handle those objections up front, and really it'll make your transaction a lot smoother. You won't have the headaches. And hey, maybe you can get your sellers, instead of getting them some Advil and some tequila, maybe you can get them, I don't know, get them a nice cake or get them some donuts, because hopefully it's going to be smooth sailing right after you get that offer accepted. All right. So hopefully you guys found this helpful. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if y'all like this approach or if you think there should be some tweaks. And we'll see you guys in the next training session. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. We'll see y'all next time.